is Rachel Zaleski. I'm your host, and this is the Zaleski Sports Show. We have Jason Zaleski, our sports expert, and we both will be talking about easy to digest, educational, and interesting sports information for all level sports fans. We'll discuss local, regional, and national sports information using hands-on demonstrations, visual aids, and statistics. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. So in case anybody hasn't been noticing lately in this great big world out there, there's something called March Madness, and we are in the thick of it. There has been 2 rounds that have been completed. This is the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and 48 games have already been finished. So Jason, how is your bracket doing so far?
It's the most wonderful time of the year, for sure. This really is a great stretch in sports throughout the year. Of course, the single best day in sports, Rachel, is the Super Bowl. The single best period of the year is right now. NCAA men's and women's tournaments going on, state basketball, girls and boys going on, and we've got the Masters golf tournament right around the corner. I mean, it is 5 to 6 straight weeks of sports greatness, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I know. I've been interested in watching these games and seeing how they're developing. I mean, there's just so many games to watch, and then our TV is constantly on at our house. So I don't know about anybody else's out there, but gets kind of annoying at times. But we're very excited to keep watching and seeing how this tournament ends and how it turns out.
Yeah.
We have a few terms that we're going to go over in Sports 101 that is really going to kind of help clear up some of the terms you may have heard on TV lately.
Yeah. So you asked how my bracket's going.
Yeah.
My bracket, if you would have asked me that question at 4 p.m. on Sunday, I would have told you accurately that my bracket was in the Capital One Online Challenge in the 98th percentile. I had hardly missed a game. And then after 4 p.m. on Sunday, a lot of it came tumbling down, including losing my first Final Four team of the tournament. The Duke Blue Devils beat by South Carolina Gamecocks, and then a couple other losses sprinkled in at the same time. And I've fallen off a little bit. I still feel good, though. I've got 3 of my 4 Final Four teams left. And, of course, I've got my champion and I think #1 team right now in the tournament, Kansas Jayhawks, left, and Kansas won their last game by 20 points, and they are on a mission, and they are steamrolling to the championship, and we're looking forward to that in Phoenix. I so plan to see the Kansas Jayhawks cut down the nets over in Phoenix in 2 weeks. We'll see what happens. That's what all the fun's about. Fun is about. It's a mystery. We never know what's coming around the corner. Upsets, buzzer beaters, and all kinds of things happen, and it's a great time this time of year.
So yeah, interesting enough, to our east, our Michigan, they have been doing really well, and I'm grateful they won and moved on. Speaking of that, we can go ahead and talk about Wisconsin. So Wisconsin Badgers, they've won 2 of their last games. They beat Virginia Tech 84-74, and they also beat Villanova 65-62, which I didn't anticipate. They play next against the Florida Gators at 9 p.m. on Friday.
That's right.
On TBS. So, Jason, what does the Badgers need? What do they need to move ahead and beat those?
Well, Florida is a very athletic team. They're a great shooting team. They're going to score points against Wisconsin on Friday night. So the Badgers will have to be on their best offensive game. And I think they're going to need some classic Wisconsin Badger defense to hang with Florida Gators. After seeing Wisconsin play these last 2 games, I really don't have a prediction. Sometimes in the tournament, teams get hot. We knew during February and the early parts of March, Badgers were ice cold. They had trouble scoring. They had trouble winning. They had lost 5 of 6 games at one point to close out the season. One of the reasons that they were seeded 8th, which is just a middle of the pack seeding. I thought it was warranted, that number 8 seed. Sometimes though in the tournament teams get hot, and that's what happened to the Badgers, I think. Wisconsin teams overall, including Marquette, and I think you'll ask me about them in just a minute, are 3-0 against the tournament's #1 seed Villanova. Marquette beat them twice during their conference play, and then Wisconsin beat them on Saturday afternoon to advance to the Sweet 16. And we're going to have a look here at what happened at the close of that game. It was a great game to watch. Badgers were at their clinical Badger best during that game, playing great defense, shutting down the Villanova Wildcats. And so after the game, as what happened from time to time, there's a celebration. So we'll catch just the final buzzer here. Badgers walking off the court with the win. Definitely a lot of celebration. It's fun. Great going to the Sweet 16. Coach Guard comes in the locker room and it's a water fight in there, and those guys are having a lot of fun. And now are on their way to, as you said, Rachel, to New York City. They play Friday at 9 p.m. on their way to the Big Apple. Khalil Iverson, Wisconsin Badger, even in the postgame press conference, was seen eating an apple. So, so he's ready. The teams are ready, and it's going to be a lot of fun as we watch these guys play, and we very much look forward to it.
Well, great. And speaking of Marquette, so they lost against the South Carolina Gamecocks, and that was Friday, 73-93. So what do you think went wrong there?
Well, as it turns out, South Carolina was the team that ended up beating Duke to knock Duke out of the tournament. They beat they beat Marquette. So again, sometimes in the tournament, a team gets hot when that tournament starts, and you can't predict it, you can't see it. South Carolina was just a ho-hum team coming into the tournament. They were a 7 seed. Nobody expected them to do much. And they did. They beat Marquette by 20 points. So really unexpected in that way. And so a nice season by Marquette. We'll see what happens to them next year. And we'll keep an eye on South Carolina. Now they're on a roll. They're in the Sweet 16. They beat Duke, and they've got all kinds of things happening.
Absolutely. So that's really exciting. Now there's been some upsets, some wins, some losses across the whole brackets. I don't know about you, but my bracket doesn't look as good as it could. Is there anything that kind of stands out to you that you want to talk about? I know there's been a lot of games. Of course, we mentioned 48 games so far. So anything that you can remember that has just been a staple or a chapter in your mind?
Well, you know, it's been a tournament like other tournaments in the past. The big time teams are winning. The programs that you're accustomed to seeing are advancing through the tournament. And so as you look through the tournament, you're going to see all known teams, all known entities. So if we could, we'll take a look at the screen here, and we'll see some of the brackets as we look here. We mentioned Wisconsin, their trip to the Sweet 16 there, along with Florida. Florida beating Virginia. Virginia 39 points, just a pathetic effort. Virginia looked to make some noise in this tournament. It didn't happen. As we scroll through the bracket here, Baylor, South Carolina, two other Sweet 16 participants. So we mentioned South Carolina, how they got there by beating Duke, and really 88-81, and I'm not even sure if the game was that close. Duke seemed to me to be behind the whole game. Gonzaga, West Virginia, that's an interesting game. West Virginia defense, as you guys are watching that game, take a look at West Virginia's defense. They will get after you up and down the court. We'll take a good effort by Shimmick and the rest of the Bulldogs to get past West Virginia.
Come on, Zane!
Rachel's championship team, she'll need those to win the Zaleski Household Challenge for sure. Arizona.
I'm currently in 5th place out of 5. So
Arizona's a big-time team. I'd look for them to easily get past Xavier. And as we go here, Kentucky to me, even though they're in the Sweet 16, been disappointing. They've looked off. They've looked slow. They've had trouble scoring, and I would expect that their season to end as they play UCLA coming up. We got Lonzo Ball and the rest of the Bruins. And I think they're just going to be too much for Kentucky. North Carolina, Butler, I think that's kind of more of the same there. Butler, nice season. I just think North Carolina, the blue chip athletes that they have there, be a little bit too much for the Bulldogs. Michigan and Oregon. Michigan has been hot, and they've been hot for a while. So I mentioned before, sometimes teams get hot in the tournament. Michigan was hot before the tournament, and they're still hot now. I would expect them to beat the Ducks and move on to the field of 8. And then Kansas and Purdue round out the Sweet 16 teams. Kansas again, 100-62, 90-70. They are not stopping for anybody, and I don't believe that they will be stopped. So that's what I see. It's been a fun tournament to watch so far, and brackets and all of it's fun. And we're still just in the middle of it, Rachel. So there's a lot of tournament left to go, a lot of great times, and a lot of the best times of the year happening now.
Yeah, thanks for your hands-on and your visual demonstration there. That's some great technology.
Well, thank you.
Now, Sweet 16, Sweet 16, Sweet 16. We keep hearing this darn term. Jason, what is a Sweet 16? Why is it so sweet? And what does it look like in bracket form?
Well, what it looks like in bracket form is just what we showed before. And the Sweet 16, it's just a fun thing to say, right? We're in the Sweet 16. It just rolls off the tongue real nice. And in the tournament, it's those next 16 teams, the 16 teams that are left, and they get to battle on. One other thing that's cool about it is you get to move on in the tournament. You get to play another week, and that's a big deal to play another week. A lot of teams recruit around that. We've been to the Sweet 16 this many times. One quick note on the Sweet 16 this year, the Wisconsin Badgers have now been to the Sweet 16 4 consecutive times. 4 years in a row they've been to the Sweet 16. No other team in the tournament can say that. So Wisconsin athletics have been good for a long time. Basketball and football have been in postseason play for 15 consecutive years.
Wow.
So a lot of good things happening in Wisconsin athletics, and this year, no different. Badgers back in the Sweet 16.
Good deal. A couple other terms that I would like you to just touch on here.
All right.
So another term I've heard is something called a buzzer beater. Not a lot of talk this tournament so far with any buzzer beaters, and then also a broken bracket, which in my household I have a broken bracket. So explain to me a little more, and those who don't know with Sports 101, what that means.
Yeah, well, a buzzer beater is one of the most exciting things in basketball. So at the end of the game, the clock's running down, team with the ball is behind. They need that last basket at the last second as that buzzer is literally going off in the arena. The ball is shot and goes in. That's a buzzer beater. We haven't had any of those yet this year. It seems like, though, they always come when you least expect. So we'll keep watching for a buzzer beater. After that basket goes in, players are jumping all over the place. I've seen coaches sprint and slide across the floor. Players jump on the scorer's table. It's a lot of fun to win at the last second. It's a lot of fun to watch. And as I can imagine, on the other side of the coin, it's a lot of disappointment too.
Yeah,
a lot of tears.
Our son, we have a basketball hoop in our driveway, and our son sometimes practices and pretends like, oh, it's the last 2 seconds of the game, and he'll be standing in the street and he'll just loft it and hope he gets it in, and so it's just kind of fun to see.
It's fun for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, and bracket.
Broken bracket.
Broken bracket. I don't know if you can find a fix for that down at the hardware store for a broken bracket. Especially the shape that yours is in this year. I don't know that it's redeemable at all.
You're talking so much smack. Quiet up now.
So we'll just draw a quick bracket here, and we'll put that up on the screen. You know, and the broken bracket. So you've picked team number 1, and you've picked them the whole way to win that championship. And well, wouldn't you know what? Team number 2 comes along, and in that very first game beats team 1. And then we've got big X's all over the place, and we've got big disappointments. The bracket's broken. It's over. You're out of here.
Yeah, I have heard this term a lot so far this tournament. So I'm not the only one. So.
No, you're not the only one, and I could be the next one. Teams get beat in your bracket, it's over. Sometimes you may as well just tear it up and throw it in the trash and wait for next year.
Yeah, just like you said, Sunday was great up to this moment, and then the very next moment, not so much.
In an instant.
In an instant. So, moving on to local sports, we had our Marshfield Columbus Dons. They actually lost to Barneveld at the Kohl Center in Madison last Friday. They played very hard. They had a lot of support from the community. Jason, what do you think were the challenges that the Dons just weren't able to overcome?
Well, Barneveld scored a lot of points, and it's tough to keep up with a team that scores a lot of points like that. Barneveld really just kept scoring, and they've got a great coach. And Marshfield Columbus, or Columbus Catholic Dons, have a great coach as well. We talked to Coach Konechny last week as he was preparing his team for the tournament, and he made note Barneveld's coach, a Hall of Fame coach, has over 700 wins in his career, and notched up another one against the Dons. A great season, Dons. Yep. And as we talked about last week, a lot of times those kids in 11th grade and the underclassmen learn a lot from that experience, and I would expect they may see the Kohl Center again.
Yeah, I gotta say, it was not anything. I'm from the Minneapolis area. I've never seen a school get a police escort out of town. I never saw all of the hubbub and excitement. We've had pep rallies growing up, but Columbus really went all out for their players. So good job, guys. You know, next year there's always another year, and we hope that you come back strong next year.
Yeah.
So there's other things that are going around town this weekend that are not sports related. Two events this Saturday coming up. There's going to be an EcoCon Sci-Fi Fantasy gaming event that's going to be held at the Holiday Inn in Stevens Point. Saturday 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. There's going to be vendors. There's going to be opportunities to play games. I think that's board games from what it looked like.
Oh, okay.
So it's very exciting.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people out there would like to play those kind of fun fantasy games.
If they're playing Monopoly, I'll be there. I might be able to clean up on some Monopoly.
I don't think it's that kind of,
okay.
that's not sci-fi, but
Oh,
you can
all right.
imagine.
Okay.
And then also Saturday at the High Ground Veterans Memorial Park in Neilsville, there's going to be a half marathon and 5K walk and run. All proceeds are going to go to the High Ground. Registration begins from 7 to 8:15 a.m. and then the race starts at 8:30. So go out and take your running shoes and go run for a good cause.
Yeah, sounds like a great time.
Yeah. So thank you so much for watching. I'm your host, Rachel Zaleski, and my husband, Jason Zaleski, the sports expert. You've watched the Zaleski Sports Show. We are available online at Facebook, and you can see our page. Visit us, Zaleski Sports Show. You can see video highlights and some of this NCAA basketball information. You can kind of look at some of our opinions on things, as well as drop us a line via email. You can send us anything you'd like. Questions, comments, concerns to ZaleskiSportsShow@gmail.com. Otherwise,
one quick thing I forgot to add during the show. We do have a replay of you and your brackets on Sunday.
Oh, funny man.
Go Sports.
Go Sports. Thanks for watching.